During World War II, there were weapons that never made it into the history books. Strange machines born from bold ideas and inventions that, at first glance, seemed completely insane. From a spherical tank no one could explain, to a bomb that could skip across water, to a rifle that fired around corners. Each was a testament to a time of brutal warfare and desperate innovation. Today, we'll uncover 5 of the strangest weapons of World War II, the creations that sound like science fiction, yet were absolutely real. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. Windkanone, the Nazi wind cannon. As World War II entered its most brutal phase, Nazi was no longer relying solely on bullets or conventional bombs. They were also pursuing strange inventions, weapons so far beyond imagination that some referred to them as miracle weapons. Among them was a device that seemed to have stepped straight out of a science fiction novel and into the battlefield. Its name was Windkanone, or wind cannon. Unlike all traditional artillery, the Windkanone didn't fire shells, nor did it explode in the usual way. Instead, it used a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen gases ignited in a specially designed compression chamber. When activated, this mixture created an intense shockwave, like an invisible cannonball launched with the hope that it could knock an enemy aircraft out of the sky. The idea sounded insane, but it was actually tested with serious intent. German engineers designed the cannon's barrel to curve, resembling a giant metal hose or dragon snout. Each time it fired, the weapon released a jet of compressed air with tremendous force. According to reports, this blast could shatter a wooden plank from nearly 200 meters away, a remarkable feat for a weapon that used no actual ammunition. However, there was a vast gap between laboratory testing and real combat conditions. The Windkanone was experimentally deployed on a bridge spanning the Elbe River, where the Germans hoped it could stop low-flying Allied planes. But the results were disappointing. The cannon was too bulky, difficult to maneuver, and utterly ineffective against high-speed aircraft. Worse, because it had to be fixed in place, it quickly became an ideal target for enemy bombers. For that reason, after only a short trial period, the Windkanone was removed from the battlefield. Despite its failure, the Nazi wind cannon left behind a distinct impression. It revealed the kind of technological ambition that defined the Nazi war machine at the time. The Windkanone was not an effective weapon, but it stood as a testament to an era when daring ideas were sometimes given precedence over practicality. And like many stories from World War II, it reminds us, not every invention leads to transformation, and not every weapon is destined to change the course of history. Kugelpanzer, the mysterious spherical tank of Nazi Germany. Throughout World War II, Nazi Germany became notorious for developing a wide range of strange weapons. Some of these were ahead of their time, like the V-2 rockets or the Me-262 jet fighter. But there were also designs so baffling that to this day, no one fully understands how they even came to exist. One of the most mysterious among them is the Kugelpanzer, the so-called spherical tank. Its name is already unusual, but its appearance is even stranger. Instead of having a long body with treads like a conventional tank, the Kugelpanzer looked like a mobile steel ball. It had just enough space for a single operator to sit inside. The vehicle was covered in steel armor roughly 5 millimeters thick, enough to resist light gunfire or shrapnel, but it was clearly never meant for direct combat. What's most surprising is that only one such vehicle was ever found during the entire war. There are no production records, no technical manuals, and no documentation to explain where or how it was used. The vehicle was discovered in Manchuria in 1945, when Soviet forces advanced into Japanese-occupied territory. It was the Russians who seized it and brought it back to be displayed at the Kubinka Tank Museum near Moscow, where it remains to this day. One theory suggests that the Kugelpanzer was designed for reconnaissance, a scouting vehicle that could roll across the battlefield with compact form and a lower chance of being hit. Others believe it may have been built for special missions, such as delivering messages or guiding troops through dangerous terrain. But since only a single unit was ever found and no supporting documents exist, all of these remain speculative at best. A more intriguing theory proposes that the Kugelpanzer may have been the result of a secret military collaboration between Germany and Japan. Perhaps it was sent to Asia for testing, but never saw actual use. It's also possible that it was a one-off prototype, abandoned during the chaotic final days of the war. In terms of design, some have speculated that the Kugelpanzer was inspired by an unfinished World War I armored vehicle known as the Treffuswagen, a massive two-wheeled tank also developed by the Germans. But there's no solid evidence to support this connection. What makes the Kugelpanzer so fascinating is not its power as a weapon, but the mystery it represents. While most wartime machines were thoroughly documented, photographed, and technically analyzed, this spherical tank seems to have been built just for curiosity, or perhaps as a wartime enigma that was never meant to be understood. Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka, the cherry blossom of death. As World War II entered its final stage, Japan found itself losing ground on every front. The country no longer had enough aircraft, warships, or fuel to withstand the ever-growing strength of the American military. And in that moment of desperation, the Japanese began turning to their most extreme strategies. One weapon in particular sent a chill through the world: Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka, a name that would soon become synonymous with death from the skies. At first glance, it looked like a small airplane, but the truth is, the Oka was no ordinary aircraft. It was a bomb, piloted by a human being. Inside sat a single kamikaze pilot, trained to steer the aircraft directly into American warships, carrying with them the hope that their death might bring about even a small victory in the face of inevitable defeat. The Oka was simple in design, but deadly in execution. It carried a warhead weighing more than 1,200 kilograms, enough explosive power to destroy a battleship if it hit its mark. After being dropped from a bomber plane, the Oka pilot would ignite 3 rocket engines and plunge toward the target at speeds reaching up to 620 miles per hour, so fast that interception became nearly impossible. But theory is one thing. Reality on the battlefield was something else entirely. Of the more than 300 Oka units produced, only 74 were ever deployed in combat, and of those, 56 were shot down before they could even reach their targets. During the Battle of Okinawa in 1945, only 7 American warships were struck by these weapons. American sailors, when confronted with this terrifying new weapon, gave it a mocking nickname: the Baka bomb. Baka meaning foolish or stupid in Japanese. They couldn't comprehend how any person could willingly pilot a bomb into certain death. But to the Japanese, the Oka pilots were not fools. As the war dragged on, Americans became increasingly familiar with kamikaze tactics. They enhanced their air defenses, altered their naval formations, and gradually reduced the effectiveness of suicide attacks. The Oka, meanwhile, had one fatal flaw. It had to be launched from a large bomber, which was highly vulnerable to American radar and fighter planes. If the mother aircraft was shot down, the Oka would never be released. There were plans to test versions of the Oka that could be launched from submarines or from hidden coastal caves, but the war ended before those ideas became reality. Today, the Oka is remembered not just as a weapon, but as a tragic symbol of a nation pushed to its absolute limit. It reflects the depth of despair that Japan faced in the final months of the war. Upkeep and highball, Britain's bouncing bombs for dam destruction. During World War II, as Britain sought to cripple Germany's war industry, they identified a critical vulnerability: the dams in the Ruhr region. These massive structures provided water and electricity to many of Germany's armament factories, but there was a problem. The dams were heavily fortified, protected by torpedo nets, and built to withstand direct attacks. Bombing from above was ineffective, and underwater sabotage was nearly impossible. That was when Barnes Wallis, a British engineer with a wildly imaginative mind, proposed an idea that sounded more like a child's game than a military tactic: to create a bomb that could skip across water, just like a stone skimming across a lake. Wallis called his creations Upkeep, the larger version designed for dam destruction, and Highball, a smaller version intended for anti-ship missions. The bomb was shaped like a spinning cylinder, dropped from about 60 feet in the air at a precise speed of 232 miles per hour. Before release, it was spun backwards at 500 revolutions per minute, creating a backspin effect. Thanks to this motion, the bomb would skip multiple times across the surface of the water, bypass torpedo defenses, and then sink to the base of the dam before detonating underwater. Testing of the concept began in 1942, and by May 1943, the Royal Air Force launched the operation known as Operation Chastise. The mission's objective was to destroy the Möhne and Edersee dams, which supplied essential power and water to German arms factories. That night, 19 specially modified Avro Lancaster bombers took off, each carrying an upkeep bomb. The results were dramatic. Both dams were breached, unleashing catastrophic floods across industrial zones and severely disrupting German production lines. But the victory came at a steep cost. Only 8 out of the 20 aircraft returned safely. 53 airmen did not make it back. To drop the bombs with the required precision, pilots had to fly at extremely low altitudes, making them easy targets for enemy anti-aircraft fire. Although the mission was later hailed as one of the boldest and most innovative operations of the Allied forces, the bouncing bombs were never used again. The risks were simply too great, and the cost too high, for it to become a sustainable weapon. Today, when people look back on the story of Upkeep and Highball, they don't only remember the engineering precision or the destructive power, they remember the people behind the mission, those who dared to try something no one had imagined before, and who were willing to give their lives to make that vision real. Krumlauf, the curved barrel sight of the STG-44. War is not only a clash of weapons on the battlefield, it is a race of design, a contest where even the smallest invention can mean the difference between life and death. And sometimes, in the harshest of circumstances, humans create things so strange they border on unbelievable. Krumlauf was one such creation. Developed by the German military during World War II, the Krumlauf was an attachment for the Sturmgewehr 44, the world's first true assault rifle. But rather than increasing firepower or range, the Krumlauf was built to solve a brutally practical problem: how to shoot from behind cover without exposing your head. At its core, the Krumlauf was a curved barrel extension, capable of bending left or right at angles of 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, or even 90 degrees. It was paired with a periscope-style optical sight, allowing soldiers to see around corners, behind walls, or from within vehicles. In practice, only the 30-degree and 45-degree versions were widely used. The sharper bends proved too dangerous for the shooter. On paper, the design seemed ingenious, but in the field, it came with serious flaws. As a bullet traveled through the sharply curved barrel at high speed, it was subjected to abnormal pressure and force. This often caused the round to fracture mid-flight, spreading like a shotgun blast and damaging the weapon itself. In many cases, the barrel became unusable after just 300 shots. German engineers tried to solve the issue by drilling vent holes to relieve pressure, but this allowed hot gases to escape, fogging up the sight and making aiming nearly impossible. Eventually, they had to add a 3-sided shield just to keep the line of sight clear. In urban warfare or close-quarters combat, the Krumlauf was mounted through the side ports of armored vehicles. When enemies approached too closely, tank crews could fire an STG-44 with a curved barrel from within the vehicle, delivering suppressive fire without needing to open the hatch. It was a temporary defense, but one that could mean survival in desperate situations. After the war, both the United States and the Soviet Union experimented with the concept. The US tested curved barrels on the grease gun and M1A1 carbine, while the Soviets tried similar modifications on the PPSH-41. But none of these yielded promising results. Eventually, all nations abandoned the idea of curved barrel firearms. Today, the Krumlauf may elicit a smile from those seeing it for the first time. It looks like something pulled from a science fiction film, but for the soldiers of its time, it was a real weapon, one that gave them a better chance of staying alive. Thank you for watching today's journey into the strangest weapons of World War II. These machines may not have changed the course of the war, but they've certainly left behind some of the biggest question marks in military history. If you enjoy strange, little-known stories like these, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. We've got many more mysteries waiting to be uncovered. See you next time.